South African delegation of firefighters has landed in Canada. They are there to help contain wildfires that have been ravaging parts of that North American country. The forest fires have forced thousands of people from their homes, and smoke has also been billowing across various cities across the border in the United States. Well, let's discuss the presence there of Working on Fires team in Canada with Trevor Abrahams, their leader. Trevor, good afternoon, South African time, and welcome to today here on eNCA. When did you get to Canada?
We arrived here on Sunday morning at about 3:30 in the morning. We had a day of acclimatization and briefings, and our firefighters are on the fire as we speak.
How big is the group?
We have 200 firefighters and 15 management in this group, and we have another group of 200 plus 13 managers coming through, leaving on the 14th and arriving here on the 15th of June.
So how does it work? Did you get a call as Working on Fires from the Canadian firefighting team to say we need help, we need more resources, or were you watching and looking at the blazes over Canada and said they need help because you've been there before?
Yes, I mean, this is part of a government-to-government agreement as part of South Africa-Canadian Binational Commission, where we agreed to exchange resources and knowledge. And this is, in fact, our 5th deployment to Canada. So we've been here a number of times. So the Canadians have quite a sophisticated system of monitoring their fire regime in their different provinces. And they've got one clearinghouse in Winnipeg. It's called the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center. So they determine when the resources that are currently in Canada are being depleted, and then they start alerting the international partners that they might need it until eventually a specific order comes through and say, we do need this. Can you get on a plane?
How bad are the fires currently?
Well, it's the worst ever. It's the worst ever. If you look at the graph of how much hectares has been lost, this is now the beginning of June. The number of hectares lost by the beginning of June equals the worst other case in Canadian history for the entire fire season. So their fire season runs up to September. So this level was only reached in August in 2021, which we're also in Canada. So it's the worst by far they've ever experienced. And the climate change scientists tell us that, they can only expect more.
Yeah, you said in August 2021 you were there with some 100 fighters, I think, because you've mentioned 200 now. You've doubled the number.
Yes, we were at 109 in Manitoba. In August, September of 2021, we've been in Alberta also in 2019, 2016, and in 2015 in Alberta and British Columbia.
And this time around, are you still in Alberta? And does your team get absorbed into the various other teams that are already in place, or is the South African contingent given an area to tackle?
So we typically join a larger complex fire. So our firefighters are currently deployed at 3 separate complexes at the moment. They join existing teams of aerial, heavy vehicle operations, as well as other firefighters, and they assigned a particular area. So today on one fire, we're given about a certain area that we have to kind of clear and secure. So the technique here is to try and contain the fires, in other words, stop it spreading, and then to move in towards the center to eventually extinguish it. So we play quite a critical role of trying to anchor boundaries. We've also been approached to do some preventative burns, in other words, burns ahead of the fire, to try and secure a line that we can defend.
Yeah. Does it look like currently you're managing to contain the fires?
Well, the fires are growing by the day. By the day, there are 73 active fires in Alberta alone, and they've had 609 so far of the season. And the weather, unfortunately, for this week and going into the weekend is pointing to hotter and drier conditions. So it can only mean more fires and more intensity coming with that. So Alberta is under strain at the moment, as is the East Coast and other parts of Canada. I mean, throughout Canada, they've had 2,255 fires already.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know working on fire is you're very committed in this work, but it takes a great of skill and grit to do it very well.
Yeah, young people are trained, and obviously we also give them training in specific Canadian techniques, the pumps they use here. And many who are out here and have been here twice, thrice sometimes to Canada, so they're quite familiar. We typically outstrip the other teams in terms of our productivity. And because of our energy that our young people have, they're able to execute tasks much, much faster. In fact, the one briefing we got, look, take it easy, rather let's focus on our safety, etc. But we are known for getting a job done quite quickly.
Yes, and do you draw these firefighters from across South Africa?
When we get a call for a deployment, we open it up to all our firefighters, and we recruit around the country because we also have a fire management mandate in South Africa, so we don't deplete our own capacity in any particular one area. So we retain our capacity. We've got 5,300 firefighters in our employ. So this is 400 of them who are out of the country, and as you know, our country has different fire seasons. So we have the capacity to deploy these without impacting on our ability to do so at home.
Yeah, you said the presence, your presence in Canada is part of the binational commission agreement, or it's under that between South Africa and Canada. Does that cover funding as well, or you as working on fire, you have to raise your own funds, Trevor?
No, the Canadians fund this entirely. They fund it entirely in terms of the chartering of aircraft, the hiring of the people involved in it. So it's completely funded by the Canadians.
All right. So how long are you going to be in Canada? Is it already agreed that you're going to stay for a particular duration?
Yes, so the first Zanzi 1 team of hotshots, they are scheduled to be here for 35 days, and then they return. And the second team will also be on a 35-day deployment in Canada itself.
Because the fire season, you said it lasts until September, October, and with the impact of climate change, nobody knows how long this one might take.
Yes, I understand Alberta's already put in a request for 600 more.
Oof, it's a big fire.
Not
Please
us,
be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, please be safe and do take care, and you continue to fly the South African flag high. As you've said, this is the 5th time working on fire has been part of the efforts to battle the fires in that part of the world. Thank you very much for your time, and stay safe, you and the rest of the team there in Canada. That's Trevor Abrahams, a leader of working on fire. 200 of them from here in Mzansi are currently helping Canadians battle these huge fires that are causing billows and billows of smoke across the border into the United States. I mean, New York apparently is suffering from the haze and the smoke that's in the air.